Today I'm sharing with you a stamp set that I picked up, and the stamps will be listed in the description box below. I'm making a card. This is Sheshe, and I'm using watercolor paper, so I'm just stamping them out with my stamping tool. We're doing some embossing today, so I'm using some gold embossing powder, so I will show you that in a minute. I'm using Versamark ink. I'm inking up my stamping tool or my stamp, and I will repeat these steps several times. The embossing powder I'm using today is Gold by Recollections. So here I'm just working off the embossing powder, and then you will see me brush away the stray embossing powder, because at this time I cannot find my tool that will prep the paper first before embossing, but I plan to find it by the next video. Here you'll see me melting the embossing powder with my heat tool, and then it's nice and shiny. Then I'll move on to the next stamp. I'm going to be using several stamps on this watercolor paper. I'm going to create a theme, a nice floral theme. I'm creating a thank you card. So next I'm going to repeat those steps again. Brush away the stray, and then melt that embossing powder again. Now I have stamped out some masks, and I'm going to mask off so that I can get in there and do some techniques behind the flowers to show like a field of flowers to create this scene. So here I'm just creating the scene of flowers that I want to stamp out. So I have several loaded up on my stamping tool, and then you'll see the mask right there so that I can stamp over the other flowers. So now I have a lot of powder on there, and then I'm just brushing away all the stray powder. It's very difficult when you have a lot of flower images on the panel at once. So I just make sure I try to clean up as best as I can. It's really hard when you don't have the tool, so I will make my best effort to find that tool on the next video. So I'm just cleaning that up, and now I'm going to melt all the powder, and we won't need that for a little while because I will emboss the thank you sentiment in gold. But next I'm just going to stamp out the background in brown memento ink. So it's nice and shiny. So I have loaded up my stamp, and I don't need the tool for this because I'm going to stamp around the images, and I have created more masks so I can stamp around. Now it's going to look really messy, but it's going to work itself out after I start to color in the images. And when I fill in a lot of the empty spaces, again, it'll work itself out. So it's going to look really messy and just kind of crazy at first. Sometimes you just have to take risks and do what you feel looks nice to you. I was just playing around with my stamps, and it's just paper. If you mess up, you just start all over and do it again if you want. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm leaving all the mistakes in and just going with the flow. So you see how my cart looks. So you'll see how it turns out in the end, what happens. So you look at my mess of a panel when you see what I do next. So yeah, the mystery continues. Look at the mess that I'm creating. So yeah, you want to see what I do? Keep watching. Do I rip up this panel or do I keep going? Look at that mess. I keep going. I'm going to go for it. So here I am taking the thank you and I'm going to emboss that thank you on that panel, and I'm just going to keep working on this panel, and I'm going to clean up my mess, and we're going to work this out. I'm just brushing away the embossing powder that strayed. And I'm going to use some distress markers, and I'm going to just kind of squeeze some out on a acetate sheet with some water and mix it in, and I'm going to use some peeled paint and forest moss markers for some greenery, and I'm going to use some lilac for my flowers, and there's another color that I use. There's two different shades of purple that I use. I'm just coloring wherever it's going to work out. I'm hoping. I see where I've missed some spots, so I'm just taking my stamp and I'm just stamping in some little flowers and stamping over some flowers, and it's in a distance, so I don't care that the images are not crisp. But it's going to work out. And now I'm coloring in my flowers with the watercolor brush. I'm wetting my brush and just, like I said, scribbled on that makeshift palette on the side, and I'm just shading in the flowers. I'm just going to turn on some music so you can see me color in the rest. So I'm just finishing up coloring the panel, and as you can see, I fixed my mistakes and everything is working out just fine. And not perfect, but I think it turned out okay. So as you can see, I'm starting to work on the center of the card, and I like working with a die and cutting out the center and doing that outside inside stitch die. And I'm just going to glue the inside panel, and that's going to finish up the card. And then I'm just going to, actually the outside panel is drying now, and I'm just going to attach that to the front. So as you can see, I didn't put enough tape for the center because I wasn't sure if that was going to stick down straight, so I just glued the inside. But as you can see, I'm fooling with the front and it didn't stick down straight, so I wish I had a tool to make sure that my front panel was straight. And so because I can't hover over the panel, I just like took the card and looked at it, and then it sat down straight. So now I noticed that I forgot to color the center of one of my flowers, so then I got a marker and then I start coloring it. So now my card is complete. So as you can see, I did another card, and I'm just showing you both cards, and they're kind of similar. So that finishes up my card. I hope you enjoyed. Take care and have a fabulous day.